Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Anime Night in the Dojo. Today's featured show, Campfire Cooking in Another World with My Absurd Skill, Season 2.
I have Campfire Cooking, Season 2, Episode 11. Welcome back to the dojo. I'm Ryu. That's Age. We're back for more Anime Night in the Dojo. And well, this week we may or may not have Cat, but last week something we did have was Super Giant Sui going super giant fast and freaking out some adventures. So some things happened last week. It was impressive. It was a fun episode. As per usual with this series, as we start the new year here, Gachikuda and Spy Family's dubs have not come out as we record right now. And we did our super long MHA series wrap up yesterday. And that took pretty much everything out of me as I was asleep doing that, which was impressive. I don't remember much of anything, but yeah. Somehow pulled that off while I was pretty dead. At least today I got some sleep, so we're good. But
I didn't.
Nope. But either way, if there's some missing stuff and the schedule gets kind of wonky here as we get started with the new year, we have the other shows that we have lined up for the winter section of anime here coming up in January. But as per usual, we have to wait on dubs and whatnot. So Gachikuda and Spy Family taking a little bit longer to wrap up doesn't really matter because then we might have been waiting on dubs anyway. So the end of the year is always kind of like that with people taking time off and scheduling and stuff like that. So that's just how it is, especially if the dub isn't finished before like December 20th. You know what I mean? So that's probably just how it is for Spy Family and Gachikuda at the moment. But they'll be out here and we'll get it done and then we'll move on to the next set of shows. But that might allow us to...
If you imagine that, you got holiday after holiday after holiday over the course of like 2-month period.
Yeah, right. Who would have guessed? But either way, we have the stuff lined up for that. We still have to finish the Has Been thing, which we will do here in a little bit. And then we'll be doing our 2025 year in review thing that can take a slot if there's something missing from one of these weeks and stuff like that. Or take the place of MHA because that's now finished. But as for Campfire Cooking, we got 2 episodes left. And we'll be hitting DC here, I assume, this episode. So yeah, the title kind of gives it away. So it's right there. But either way, I'm excited to see what they do with these last 2 episodes. But as I mentioned before, this series still has a lot to give potentially because there is a ton of source material. So we'll just have to see if they continue adapting it or whatnot. But if they do, this will be something we do for the channel because it is a very, very good show for what it does and what it's trying to do and what it's supposed to be. So anyway, this was a pleasant surprise for this year. Absolutely. So we're going to get going here. So people on Patreon, we'll see you on the other side of the edit for the timer reaction, and people on YouTube for the discussion and review. If you're looking for the opposite video of what you're watching, you know where to find it by clicking on stuff on the internet. So let's push some buttons and get going. So here goes something. Well, alrighty then, there you guys have it. We got the very stereotypical, like, Captain Pirate Guy motif character here. And they just went all in, and why not go all in if you're going to do a character like this? So why not? It's the seaside town, you know, the tropes are real, all that kind of thing. So why not? You know what I mean? And we mentioned it during the reaction there, but it's like word travels fast. It's like, well, actually it travels instantly. So
yeah,
he knew about Makoto coming since the guildmaster in I forget the name of the town, but it was the one where he did all the like wyvern hunting, and at the end of season 1 there with the guy that was voiced by All Might VA from at least for the English dub, that guy who you know, sent out all the letters of introduction to the towns that were along the path here. So yeah, he knew Makoto had been coming for a while now, but you know, unsurprising. But either way, we talked a little bit. We got a little bit more about like the economy and stuff like this. This big ass house, which was bigger than the last one, 70 gold a week, also known as 10 gold a day, assuming their weeks are also 7 days. You know, they haven't really gone into that. I'm just gonna assume that their weeks are also 7 days. So
yeah, typically if it's different, then they like make a note that it's different. Like Makoto would have immediately brought up, "Oh, that's weird. Their weeks consist of 10 days or something like that."
Right. But either way, another very fancy house with I'm just looking at this right now. You guys see this bush line just on the left side of the house that just doesn't exist on the right side of the house? That's an aesthetic choice, right? It's probably more of the whole, like, moss growing on the north side of trees. Probably due to the orientation and how plants grow via sunlight and stuff like that. So,
well, yeah, we could already see from the orientation of the house that is the sunny side of the house. So that's where the garden is, probably.
Yeah. Right. So either way, we got a little bit more into, not that 70 gold a week for Makoto is. He could do that for the rest of his life. Okay? With the money he has right now. So, totally fine. Got a bunch of cool equipment in there that he could use. He did another new recipe. I will say, generally speaking, when you're adding color to a dish, you add more than one piece of broccoli. But I gotta appreciate the commitment to the bit here. And then when they showed off, like, everybody's dish, like, you can see, like, Fells, he has, like, a huge piece of broccoli. So, you gotta appreciate the random attention to detail for stuff like that kind of thing. Like, yes, for color, one piece of broccoli. Yeah, I guess that breaks it up. You know what I mean?
Well, also, back on the economy note, that does actually put into context Makoto's level of wealth to an extent. Because, it's like a noble's house. Freaking a noble who owns the house is probably not spending that as much a week. Because they're not renting it from the owner or anything. But at 70 gold a week for like 50 years, that's about 200,000 gold.
Yeah.
Which is still quite a bit more than
he has right now, right? But I think that might be alleviated a little bit by the Mithril Mine thing that we haven't got into. That could be worth several 100,000 gold over the lifespan of the mine, even at whatever he gets, like 5% or whatever he might get. So,
oh yeah, like he could still like afford it. It's just
if he kept going, you know what I mean? He'd easily be able to afford. It's like I was talking if they had full stopped and they never like adventured again, kind of situation.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. Like, he as it stands right now, he could afford it if he kept like actively earning money. But right now, he would not be able to just stop what he was doing and live there.
Yeah. But assuming like whatever he's gotten in the like 3.5 months that he's existed in this world, because we can base it based on Sui's age, and Sui is 3 months old now, and he met Sui like a couple weeks into him being on in this world. In 3.5 months, he's made like 40,000 gold. That's like me ballparking it a little bit. It's probably a little bit more than that based on like the gems.
Somewhere around like 60.
Yeah, the gems were 8k by themselves, and then all the dragon stuff was more, and he hasn't sold all the dragon stuff. So
that's what I was gonna say. He's probably close to like 60-ish in just like raw currencies.
Yeah.
And then he's still sitting on a pretty big trove of stuff that he could still sell. He just would need to actually travel around to sell it because it's too much for any like one place to just buy.
Right. So, as we know, even like C rank creatures can be worth a reasonable amount of money, and they're hunting S rank creatures. Okay, on the regular.
Yeah, so a lot of the S rank creatures, most people never even freaking get a chance to use for materials.
Right, because either nobody can handle it, like we saw with the Earth Dragon, you needed a very specialized knife. At least with the Kraken here, they were able to just, use their materials for, or their tools that they were using for just average everyday stuff. But generally speaking, a Kraken doesn't have like a super hard exterior. You know what I mean? It's very what I want to use for that, like selective parts of their body are very like difficult to crack.
Well, yeah, for a Kraken, like its skin is soft because it needs to be for swimming, but for the way it swims. And it has no bones. But it has extremely dense muscles.
Yeah.
Which is part of why would be very difficult to fight and injure. But once it's dead, the muscles will have relaxed and be significantly easier to just cut it up.
Right. So either way, we got exactly what they were looking for that. Well, once again, we knew the Sui thing was coming, but again, just buoyancy with a slime, they can go wherever they want. You know what I mean? Without much problem. Like near frictionless movement,
It depends. They either can make themselves ultra buoyant, or in some fictions they just sink to the bottom because they're denser than water.
Right.
Like that was the thing in freaking Reincarnated as a slime initially. It wasn't until he got the water movement skill that he could actually traverse water. Otherwise, he just sank to the bottom and had to constantly focus on trying to keep himself from just dissolving into the water.
Right. But in the case of Sui, not only have they been blessed by Ruka, the water goddess, they already had a aptitude for water. That was like their base attribute for the most part. So
yeah, that's why Ruka blessed Sui, was because Sui had a natural aptitude for water.
Yep.
Unlike Makoto.
Yep. So either way, we got Kaiju Battle. That was a thing. We got third-partied twice. That was certainly a thing. We got to look up this thing, which I'll let it go up on the screen there. Look, I got lucky. It's Greek, and there are two different depictions of this creature. It's something like this, which is pretty much a giant whale-like creature, or it can be the more probably well-known version of this is, you guys, like the lion turtle from The Last Airbender, those kind of turtles.
Yeah, the Aztodactylon is it's depicted as either a giant whale monster like this, like they even gave it the whale-like teeth, or it's an island turtle.
Yep. So either way, we had that. It looks like Makota's appraisal has upgraded as he's leveled up, which is good. You could argue that his appraisal is becoming more like in sync with what he needs it to be as what he's doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, his entire build is specializing towards cooking.
Yep. So that's something a chef would want to know as, edible. Like maybe if he was like a standard like adventurer, might say something like, maybe not for a fish, but for example, like bones can be used for like a high grade blacksmithing material. You know what I mean? Something like that. Good for armor, good for weapons, what have you. Can be used for medicine. Something like that.
Yeah, fish bones are. Fish bones and oils are used in medicines, and fish bones themselves can be used for a variety of other purposes, like blacksmithing fluxes and so on.
Yep. So either way, all in all, another good episode. They've really figured out the pacing for this. Once again, he is blowing the minds of everybody around him, pirate captains included. The one thing that I will say that they did this whole thing with the cooking stuff, that was fine. Just big ass grill basically taking it down. That just everything you'd want for like a seaside thing. This picture depicts just everything that Makoto wanted right here. Boom, perfect. You want a shot like that? That's great. But the one thing that I will say about this episode that really weirded me out was the fact that the fishermen at a seaside town are using boats that are like dinghies that come off of a real boat. These are like escape boats, that you like, emergency boats that you use to get away from a sinking boat.
Yeah, these are just little kind of rowboats that you either use to escape your sinking vessel or to go to land from when you're like going onto a shore that's too shallow for your ship to actually approach.
Right. So I mentioned it at the end of the interaction. When we got here, I was like, where are you guys putting your catch? Does everybody have item box? Where are you putting your stuff?
Yeah, like I was saying in the reaction, you can kind of get away with using rowboats on like shallower inland seas, but you cannot rowboat in open sea. Even like historical like cultures that actually did still use rowboats at open sea had sails, because you need sails to navigate whenever the water isn't like perfectly still.
The only way I'm going to defend this even slightly is when they were showing this ocean/sea, there was very little water motion and like no waves. So if this is like a super, super, super calm sea with like very little wave action, or, you know, like anything that's would be considered like water turbulence, then maybe they could get away with it. But still, it's too small.
Yeah, it's too small to have a catch, and from everything we've seen about the map and stuff like that, once again, this is an open sea. It's not inland sea. So, like, while you can have some calm spells, even calm open sea is still going to be too much to really freaking just board your way through.
Yeah. So, I don't know what the deal was with this. I don't know if this was changed from the source material or whatever, but yeah, don't go into the ocean with a boat like this, okay? A boat 10 times this size could potentially struggle in the ocean. 20 times this size could struggle in the ocean. You know what I mean?
Yeah, once again, like Viking rowboats or fuck is the I'm suddenly drawing a blank on the name, but the freaking the longship. What should we call it? The original settlers of Hawaii. Can't remember their name. They also used rowboats as well, but once again, still with sails.
Right.
They typically had like the smallest boats for open sea travel of the time, but they also did the essentially the multi-boats that were strung together, where they basically make a larger vessel by connecting an array of smaller boats together, because they didn't have the technology or engineering understanding to make bigger boats that functioned.
Yeah.
But even then, once again, while those were technically rowboats, they were still rowboats with a sail.
Yeah. So this was just kind of weird to me. It doesn't really detract from the episode or anything like that. It's just kind of like one of those things that you point out when you go like, how are they doing this exactly? And then the fairly classic thing with Makoto here, when you like went around town looking for a boat, and then, you know, the guildmaster is like, you do realize the guild offers services, right? And in the case of the guild, you know, generalized services, if you're on a sea town, it's like, yeah, we have a guild boat you could have used. Just saying.
Yeah, the freaking... He goes around and talks to all the fishermen who, once again, fishermen boats should actually be bigger than what they clearly had, but they still wouldn't be that big. Freaking, but yeah, he just doesn't even think to go to the freaking adventurer guild that would actually have major transport / combat vessels.
Yep. So either way, you live and learn, right? But again, another solid episode. The pacing was great. You know, the soundtrack just changes for them being at a port town was great. Just him, Makoto, remembering, you know, hi, he's Japanese, so obviously he's going to have fond memories of the sea and or ocean. It'd be really weird if you were a Japanese person and you never somehow remain landlocked your whole life and never associated yourself with the ocean. That'd be very hard to do. So
yeah, I mean, like inland rural towns and stuff like that, there are a lot of people that just never leave their rural town and don't really interact with the sea at all. But in general, yes, the ocean is very important to freaking Japanese culture, seeing as they're an island nation.
Yep. So either way, another solid episode. Looking forward to however they wrap up next week. And once again, they have plenty of source material that they could use, so easily 2 or 3 more seasons, no problem. They choose to, and this has been one of the more well-received shows since it's come out. 2 years ago. You know what I mean? So it's everything you want out of a show like this. And it will be interesting to see, and we'll talk a little bit about it more next week when we do this season wrap up, is if we do go into like the politics of the other worlders, you know, what they were possibly doing, what's going on, you know, will Makoto have to get involved politically with like nations or stuff like that, or is this just going to stay like lighthearted and just, you know, this kind of thing? But we'll just have to see. That's up to the author, obviously, and either way could work.
Yeah.
I could see it working both ways. Like if they just did this kind of thing for like 4 seasons, fine with me. It's a great show for what it is. It can just keep doing this. But if they want to get political and go into like solving like nation level problems, kind of like where Skeleton Knight was trending at the end of that first season, sure, why not? You know what I mean?
This comes off as very similar to freaking Dragon Maid, and it's a fun slice of life, but that will actually have major story going on in it.
Yep.
At least, you know, the Dragon Maid source material. Once again, the anime decided to omit that.
Right. But either way, we'll just have to see what happens. But this was, I'm glad I found the show. It is a very, very good show for what it is, and it's nice to not have to complain about anything, because there is literally nothing to complain about with this show. So it's everything that this needs to be. I'm kind of surprised the gods have been around the last couple episodes. I assume they'll show up in the season finale and be like, hey, it's been like 3 episodes. What's your problem, man?
Yeah, no, I was going to bring that up. It's like we have yet another episode without the gods at all. I imagine we're going to have a pretty big deal with the gods once they do go to like the dungeon or the Leviathan or whatever, and Makoto inevitably gets to level 40 off of it.
Yeah, right. He's gonna have to slack pretty hard to not get a couple more levels at this point. So anyway, that's all we got for this week. We'll be able to wrap this up next week on schedule, so that'll be out next Friday. But you know, the schedule is going to get kind of weird here at the beginning of the year while we wait for stuff to wrap up, and then wait for, you know, the dubs of the next set of stuff that we're going to do. So if there's a couple things like missing from the schedule, that's, you know, we have a couple things that we can fill it with, but that's only 2 extra things that we got, you know. So unless the next Hitman Elusive Target comes out, which I believe that's February, that's not something we can do, but that's something we're going to continue doing for the channel as well. So if anybody's a fan of Hitman out there, every Elusive Target that comes out, Madhouse and I are going to do that. So why not? It's definitely a thing, and that Slim Shady one was great. So anyway, as for Campfire Cooking, we'll wrap it up next week. And
I was just gonna say, I'll probably be around for those, but I don't really play Hitman myself.
Right. Yeah, so Age will be around in the background, just, you know, random commentary talking about stuff. But yeah, it's just something we wanted to add for this year, because Hitman continues to do very fun and unique things. It's kind of like the Fortnite of single player games, with all the collabs and stuff that it's getting. So it's very impressive what they're doing with it. So especially since it's, while you can pay for some of the stuff, all the elusive targets you can play for free. You know what I mean? If you want to support them, you can, which is a solid model.
The real question is, when are we going to get Saber or Fryren as elusive targets?
Right.
Seeing as they're like the 2 biggest freaking collab with everything series right now is fucking Fate and Fryren.
Yeah, that or 2B and or Joker from Persona are going to show up in the Hitman verse.
Yeah.
Just wait till Hitman gets its first anime collab. It's going to be all over.
Yeah, elusive target can have to help Joker steal someone's heart, literally.
Yeah, literally. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, people of YouTube, beyond however you're watching, as always, we appreciate you stopping by, and any of us are in the dojo for more Anime Night in the Dojo, and this was Campfire Cooking, Season 2, Episode 11. So have a good morning, evening, afternoon, whatever it is for you. Have a good one. See you next time.
Hey everyone, Victoria here. If you enjoyed the video, please consider pushing those like and subscribe buttons. Your support is greatly appreciated. Thanks again for your time, and we hope to see you again in the future.